The irony of this podcast is that my clients do call me daddy. Welcome back to Saint to Siren with Pamela. I'm also known as the Violatrix. Today we are going to just dive right in. I have all sorts of topics that I want to talk about. My kids are always telling me, my daughters are always telling me that I have the best lore, L-O-R-E, lore. And I don't really know exactly what that means, except that it's like, they explain to me, it's like legendary stories that you don't get to hear anywhere else. So I thought I would open this podcast episode. Can you believe we made it to 11? If I can get one more done before I fly home back east to Pennsylvania and Manhattan for Christmas, I will be so pleased, because the goal for 2025 was 12, and here we are at 11, and I leave on Monday. So in the spirit of going back home and my lore, my legendary lore, as my kids tell me, I thought it would be fun to let you guys know. Do you know who Jules Jordan is? He is a famous adult content, aka porn producer. He's a lovely person. He goes by Jules Jordan, but his real name is Ashley Gasper. And I grew up with him in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And true to my legendary lore, when we were in 8th grade, Jules Jordan, aka Ashley, he had a single mom who was really hardworking, and I believed she was a waitress and worked nights. And for like a week, he kept saying he was going to be hosting a party. We were 13 or 14. I don't even think we were 14. I want to say 13. And he was going to be hosting this party on Friday night. And somehow it went from our 8th grade friend group, it ran through the ranks of the high schoolers. And sure enough, the high school kids crashed the party, and there we all were with total 80s mayhem. I mean, just everything that would be like land somebody in jail in this day and age, everything that you could possibly think of at Briarcrest Townhouse Apartments at Ashley Gasper, aka Jules Jordan's house. And on the following Monday, we all ended up getting arrested. Like, it was a disaster. And those of us who didn't get arrested for the underage drinking party on the spot, they called our houses, because the Derry Township, Hershey, Pennsylvania is so small. The Derry Township police called our parents and hauled us into the station one by one, which was the case with my parents. That was fun, being escorted by Joan and Dawn down to police headquarters to be interrogated about my one of my best friends, Becky, who may or may not have seen someone's penis in the bathroom. Not by her own choice. So anyway, that following Monday, we go to school and we have this big assembly, and I don't remember what it was about, but at the end, our principal, Joe Galley, gets up. Joe Galley, this was when that movie Lean on Me came out, the one that about East Side High School in Paterson, New Jersey, with Joe Clark, the principal, that did the lock-in, kicked out all the drug dealers, walked around with a bullhorn, and he was like batshit crazy, but he turned the whole school around. So that movie, Lean on Me, about East Side High School, which, by the way, right in the vein of my legendary lore, my parents both attended East Side High School. If you don't believe me, I'll pull out the yearbooks and show you. Nonetheless, Paterson, New Jersey is where both my parents grew up. So we had this principal, this Italian guy from Philly, Mr. Galley, who, by the way, my mom had a crush on him, so she would offer to chaperone all of the middle school dances. But in essence, I think Mr. Galley actually had a small crush on me, because he used to follow me around and say I looked like young Barbara Streisand, which made me recoil in horror back then. Now I find it a compliment. I am digressing. So we're all sitting in this assembly. Mr. Galley gets up, taps the mic, and he's like, I want you to know that I am very disgusted and disappointed about some news that has landed on my desk today. I would like the following students to stand up right now as I call their names one by one. And he calls each and every one of us that was at the party, but we're not connecting the dots. And sure enough, after he calls us all out and tells us to stand, he tells the whole auditorium, the whole Hershey Middle School, to leave the auditorium, and those of us left standing are to be seated, come down front row and sit in front of him, to which he gave us an hour's dissertation lecture on ethics, morals, underage drinking, and the like, and how disappointed and disgusted he is in each and every one of us, and he got in our faces. Yeah, that was horrible. It didn't stop his little crush on me anyway. You could say that in the 80s. If I said that right now to my kids, they would tell me I'm gross. Anyway, okay, so there's my Jules Jordan. But so Ashley, who graduated with us, or may not have actually walked in cap and gown, if my memory serves me correctly, got a job up on Route 22 in Colonial Park, Harrisburg, working at like fantasy adult videos, like next to like a, I don't know, like a dirty truck stop strip place. And he was working in the video department, renting out the videos, rewinding them back when you had to like rewind videos to when you return them or you got charged. And he was watching so many videos and he's like, I can make better porn than this. And sure enough, I guess he did. And now if you Google Hershey High School, you have of the most famous alumni, you have Jules Jordan with the respected hallowed halls of Hershey High School that again he may or may not have graduated from. So anyway, I just thought you might get a kick out of that. So on to other things. I have a couple of client stories that I thought I would open with. If you've listened to my podcast, you know that I have not just one, but a couple of clients that are African American, Black gentlemen that will call me. And of course, there's all sorts of race play, right, around kink and fetish. But most of these men that call me, these Black gentlemen for years, they want me to play uh, plantation master or massa's wife, and I'm in charge of this plantation slaves. And I swear to you, they come to me with this, and it's very uncomfortable. And they want you to behave as an unethical uh, pre-Civil War era plantation mistress, master, owner. It's like crazy. And I don't know that much about what went down on those plantations. I'm an Italian American. My family was over there trying to survive Mussolini and the fascista. I don't know shit about the Deep South and slaves. We didn't have slaves. More Italian Americans were hung in American history. There was the largest lynching of humans in American history in Louisiana with Italians. The black population can't even claim that. We Italians do. So anyway, I'm like the wrong person for this, but nonetheless, those are usually the race calls that I get. In this case, I had a Black gentleman call me last week and he wanted to tell me about my white skin up against his, and he wanted me to be serving him. I don't usually take calls where I play the submissive. Matter of fact, I discourage it and almost prohibit it. But lately, I don't know what's happening. A lot of them are sliding through, and you don't know until you pick up the phone what they want. But he had a good old time. It was cam to cam, and he had a good old time telling me about what he was going to do to my white body and my white skin. So I thought that was interesting because that one you don't normally hear. And he did say, which was super funny, so I hope he's not listening to this. He's like, yeah, you're not like my wife with her fake ass weave. And I'm like, oh no. And I'm of course like modeling, on the call, and I'm like running my fingers through my very expensive Korean extensions. But of course I didn't say that to him because it matches the top of my hair, so it could be my hair. But I was like, yeah, your wife with that weave, oh, for shame, me with 24-inch extensions draping down my back, acting holier than thou. Anyway, so that was one call I had last week. Let me get into two other calls that I think you might find not just interesting, utterly a case for human fascination, which is what I feel this one particular call was. Whether you've listened to me before or this is your first time hearing me, you will know that all kink and fetish, according to me, are steeped in psychology, deep in psychology. Where does it happen? How does it happen? Early on in adolescence, prepubescence, or puberty, something that we come in contact with, and this is both men and women, something that captures our interest, something that excites the senses, something that sets us alive and on fire inside, internally, and that we have no control over it. It is a chemical reaction. It's an involuntary response to some stimuli that we see. And when a boy maybe goes home and ends up having like a wet dream about it, or a girl ends up, playing Barbies and fantasizing, romanticizing about whatever thing that she saw Prince Charming, in a movie, whatever it was, it tends to get hard locked in the psyche. And once that is there, and once that foundation is laid, it is the brick and mortar of what will then become the basis for anything you find alluring or attractive. Now, you may go on to have a vanilla dating life, marriage, etc., but whatever thing, be it an object, a person, inanimate object, whatever that thing is, it could have been a glossy magazine, it could be a teacher in school, a friend's older sister, a friend's brother. It could be, a VHS tape, on and on and on. It could be something you saw on the internet. It doesn't matter. It could be a piece of clothing. Whatever set your sensory ablaze is what will forever get you going harder than anything else. Okay, so why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I have not one, not two, but countless clients who know that they are attracted to or intoxicated by certain stimuli or certain kinks, fetishes, looks, women, men, whatever it is, and they go against these things. They get married. They think they can push them deep down. And then years later, and usually I see this around when men turn around anywhere between 35 and like 42 is the sweet spot. They start losing their ever living minds because they start to realize, I've lived so much of my life for my wife and my kids and my career. Now, here I am, I'm completely unfulfilled sexually. And this happens to a lot of people in middle age, not just men, both sexes. But in this particular case, when they have a deep-seated kink or fetish, something that really has captured them way back when, and it ruminates and they never stop thinking about it. And then they start reflecting on, how much life do I have left? And I've never indulged in this. And then they just go off the rails, indulging in whatever that thing is. So again, I see it all the time. So I have this one client who is a youngish gentleman. I want to say he's in his like mid to late 40s, maybe early 50s. And he is the CEO of a very well-known, very worldwide, global company. And he's absolutely sweet and adorable. And to see him, you would never see this coming. Think back to like any 80s Rodney Dangerfield movie where you get like a golfer, like the good old boy kind of golfer type. He's got the sweater, he's got the shirt, the sweater tied around his shoulders. He's got the golf pants. He's just a good old all-American Southern boy gentleman. That type. This guy is so deep-seated in such like degenerative, such degenerate, low level, disgusting, disgraceful porn, kinks, fetishes, lifestyle. Like, you can't believe it. So what happened was, he, at a certain point in a man's career, he has to get married, right? Like, he's got to play the whole corporate guy with the wife and kids type thing. So he was engaged to this Southern belle, very appropriate Southern woman. And this guy lived separate from his fiance for years, and they finally just got married. And let me roll back. Like a year ago, as he knew the wedding was looming, he started going off the rails. And he was meeting guys off of Grindr and having these guys come over. One guy, I kid you not, was a young black kid that was maybe like 19 or 20. And I can't remember if he worked at, like, say, for example, it was like one of the pizza delivery chains or something like that. And the kid came right over. They were communicating on Grindr. Kid came right over to his house afterwards. He verified him from the street that he was who he said he was. He had a girlfriend. This kid had a girlfriend. He was a black young boy, like young, late teen, early 20s boy. And he came over and said, I've never done anything like this, but he said, I'm super turned on by it. And he was with my client in his house during one of his like delivery stops. And then it wasn't the last time. He came over again and again. And my client was thrilled by this. my client was so off the rails because he knew that his days were numbered with his fiance, with his wedding, just not so far off in the distant future, that he was like perpetually, habitually going on Grindr. This is where I have to be really careful because I don't want it to trace back to him with any recognizable details of the story, because this story is currently ongoing. Her friends, she had some friends who were not heterosexual. These were gay friends, and they saw he had his actual fucking picture on the site on Grindr, and her friends saw and showed it to her, and she brought it to him, and she confronted him, and he was able to get out of it. I'm not going to say how he exactly got out of it because, again, I don't want to give too many identifiers, but it's utterly hilarious, the antics. So then, just when you think, okay, he's in the clear, he's not going to do anything else, he opens a Chaturbate account, and he's a full face, full frontal, jerking off, doing full JO shows on Chaturbate, garnering a large following and meeting more men. So I want to tell this story because the things that I see and hear at the level that my clients are, there is validity and truth to the fact that if you take like Jeffrey Epstein, or I often reference the movie Hostel, when you get people, I don't want to say just men, because look at Ghislaine Maxwell, the right hand of Epstein. When you get people that are at that high level of wealth, fame, fortune, and they feel untouchable, people they don't like doing ordinary things, and they run out of just how much trouble can I get myself into in something that the regular folk, the middle America, could never do. And they really do kind of, some, not all. But you cannot believe the risk, the risque, the stupidity, the carelessness, and the flagrant disregard for their own safety and what they've built and their wealth and their empire and their family. You can't believe it. So this guy's just going on Grindr, or he's going on Chaturbate, and he's not the only one. So as I mentioned in the last few episodes, I've joined this dating app Feld, and I'm meeting a lot of master doms, and I'm pulling a lot of moves from these master doms. I'm meeting them from all around the world. The fascinating ones, really, the American ones are interesting, but the really fascinating ones are going to be global. They're going to be typically in Germany or Scandinavian countries. The kinks and fetishes go way back to those countries, far longer than the USA has even been alive and in existence. But my point is, I really want you to understand that A, these things are out there, they are happening. B, you're never going to hear about them unless you're in a position such as me. And C, I now believe that not any single man is completely straight. I believe that there are shades, and I believe that the Kinsey scale is alive and well, and I think that given the chance, most men would say, I'll try it once because I've seen it. So in talking about this dating app Feld, I don't know how you pronounce it, the thing that's most shocking to me is the amount of men with their faces out there, these good-looking guys in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, some in their 60s, but these good-looking men that are just putting it right out there, bi-curious, hetero-flexible. So I guess bi-curious means they haven't been with a man yet, but they're interested. And I guess hetero-flexible, really from what I am gleaning, again, speaking to some of these men, because I'm coming right out and asking them, basically means they're open to being with a trans girl. But I think there's a big window and spectrum as far as what they would do. But a lot of the men have in their profiles that says, I'm hinge in the streets, but field in the sheets. So I don't know. I'm perpetually, it never ceases to amaze me, some of the things that I'm seeing. I have a certain amount of naivete to some of the things that are out there. But I am curious, and I really want the women to come forward who don't mind if their men experiment with another man or if they'd be shocked by it. But I'm telling you right now, scroll through that app, Feld, and you will be utterly shocked the way some of these men that you like, these rough, tough, cowboy types and jock types, and it's, you guys have said it for years on TikTok, but the gym bros are right at the front of the line, the top of the list of the guys that are saying hetero flexible and bi curious. Or pan is the other one. So anyway, I'm not making a judgment. What I'm saying is, I think little by little you're seeing the tipping point that more and more it's becoming acceptable for men to be like, yeah, I'll put my dick in that. I don't care if it's going to give me pleasure. And I just think we're seeing, like, it's becoming more socially acceptable. There's no question. And I'm not really sure, like I said, what the tipping point was. It would be interesting to see what you guys think that it was. Because I simply can't quite put my finger on it. But I do want to know, where do you ladies sit on, if you're on a dating app and you're swiping and you see someone who's bi-curious or hetero-flexible, where do you sit on the line of this? Are you okay with it? Does it make you recoil? Are you horrified? Are you like, I don't know, maybe? Like, where, I really want you ladies weighing in the comments, and men too, and men who have any sort of thoughts, opinions, experience on this, please by all means weigh in. But I really want to know from my female followers and listeners, I want to know, what would you do if you swiped on a guy, or if you were swiping and you saw a really good looking guy and he had any of those things? Tell me what you feel. Tell me what you would do. I'm really interested. And also, I wanted to talk about the fact that like 98% of my clients are attorneys and why that is. Years ago, there was a study that was done that, and you could probably still find this. I have no idea what the source was, but years ago, there was a study that was done about people and STDs, and the highest concentration, or amongst celebrities and famous athletes, amongst celebrities and famous athletes, you had a very high rate of HSV, the herpes simplex virus. And the study was correlating that, along with the looks, the lifestyle, and what it took to get that person famous, what comes along with that is a high risk, high reward behavior. So the same thing that gave them the intestinal fortitude to become famous, have the acumen to become an athlete, a movie star, a model, by the same token, also drives them to have high risk behaviors that sometimes end up with results such as STI or STD, whatever you want to call it, herpes. So I feel that there is some correlation, at least in my case, and I can't speak to any other findom or PSO, phone sex operator, or OF girl, or whatever. I feel that there's a correlation between men that go into law and that kind of gregarious character, almost like behavior, at least for those that are in litigation, that are litigating in a courtroom. There seems to be maybe high risk, high reward behavior that lends itself to men that would call phone lines such as night flirt and engage in a lot of these sexual activities that the mainstream would deem, shocking. So I think there's some correlation there. I haven't fully been able to put it together. But speaking of attorneys, I have a new client that has a situation that's unlike anything I've ever heard. And I'm just going to say it like this, because protecting his anonymity is incredibly important to me. And I have no idea if he listens to this podcast. So I'm not going to say what state he lives in, what part of the country, what city. I'm not saying any of those things. There will be no identifying details, but I will say this. He basically brought me the exact scenario that we saw in Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. He is Richard Gere in this case, except he's a high-powered attorney, and the Julia Roberts character is a very young girl whom he married. I guess he was her client and then he married her. And We are now 3 weeks into calls, one call a week, and usually they're a few hours long, and my head is spinning. My head is absolutely spinning, but it harkens back to what I said, the high risk, high reward behavior. But what a lucky young lady to have entered into that. Now, again, please bear in mind, I'm not talking about, like a back page, hooker, like a crack whore hooker. I'm talking about high class, elite, the um, courtesan level, type of escort. But what a young lady to have had her story end this way versus how it could have gone alternatively. It could have gone many different horrible ways, but what a kind of rags to riches princess story. I'm still floored by it, and I'm fascinated. When he calls me, he tells me some things, but I have so many questions. I have so many questions about this. But the thing that was most shocking was that she refuses to give up her clients. That was shocking to me. You get the brass ring. You did it, girl. You got it all. And you won't give up your clients. He's given you everything, and he doesn't want you to work, and you won't give up your clients. I'm probably setting us back generations in saying this, but there's a reason why I do phone. There is a reason. First of all, I have OCD. I don't want anybody touching me. I have slept in my own bed for 17 years. My husband and I don't even share rooms. Like, I can't even imagine having somebody get close to me. I would freak out. So I have OCD. I don't want anybody touching me, germs and that sort of thing. I don't like to be touched by strangers. And then it's like, why would I? I can sit here on my big ass and make great money from my desktop computer, my phone, in the car, whatever. Why would I want to schlep around? But to each his own. But I don't want to say that to him, which is because he did ask me, he's like, have you ever done any sort of escorting? And I was like, no. And why would I? I think there's a big difference between a woman who's going to do this over the phone and a woman who's going to do this in person. I just think those are two very different types. I don't know. What do you think? Am I wrong? Or is it just a slippery slope? Is phone sex the gateway drug to escorting? But what would you do if you found yourself in the Julia Roberts position and the handsome, dashing, handsome, wealthy, uber wealthy, successful lawyer comes along? I mean, can you even put yourself in that headspace? And you're gorgeous, you're young, you meet him at 21, and here you are at 24, and it's still going on. You haven't given up your clients. Would you give up your client book and focus on being a good old-fashioned wife and having a family, or would you insist on working? I mean, and it's easy for me to say this, but when I look back to the year that I married my husband, who is a doctor, and he said to me when I moved from Pennsylvania, I flew and moved across country to marry him and to live with him, and he said, you don't have to work. And I said, no, I think that's a bad idea, because I had a 3-year-old daughter when I married him, and I said, she goes to school, and what would I do all day? And I love my work. So maybe I shouldn't be so judgy about this. But I guess it's the fact that I can't imagine looking my husband in the face knowing that some guy was just railing me from behind and then coming home to him and being like, oh, honey, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I just can't. But I didn't give up my work. And thank God I didn't, because, daycare was expensive, and my husband didn't know how expensive it would be to have a baby. So we definitely were able to live better with the addition of my small income compared to his. But it did offset some costs. So anyway, I just want to know, because I don't have anybody to talk to. I don't have anybody to talk to about this stuff. I can't go, on a live and talk about it. But I would love to know in the comments what you guys think. What would you do in that situation? Because there is a part of me that's super judgy about it. By the same token, I saw on several gentlemen's profiles on the dating apps, that especially the ones that were steeped in the foundation of the app was that they were kink sites, men saying, I have toys. And I thought, who out there? I don't know any women that would want to go over to a man's house and have him use toys on her. Would you guys permit that if you met a man and he pulled out a toy? Like that is mind-boggling to me that a man would think you could use toys, even sanitized, on another woman. Like, who are the women out there that are like, oh, that sounds like fun. Bring your toy box, bring your toys out. Like, who would do that? Like, that's crazy. I also, for any of the men listening, I also want to add this, which I think is incredibly important. There's a lot of men that put in their profiles, love to eat kitty all day long. More men should go down on women. I don't want to speak for all the masses. Actually, yes, I do. I want to speak for the masses. I don't know a woman out there who finds that attractive. That's repulsive. Because you know what it tells us? It tells us that you're going down on every girl, Tom, Dick, and Harry that you're meeting out there, and that's disgusting. Also, when you say looking for a relationship but open to ONS, one night stands, when we see open to one night stands, we're never going to swipe on you, because that tells us that you're just bringing a host of disease into the bed. So guys, rethink your profiles. I swear to God, I could probably die a well, I'm going to die a multimillionaire anyway, but I could probably die an even richer multimillionaire if I started a service just redoing these men's profiles and having them send me their pictures and just like sharpening up the pictures and then telling them what to write. Just 25, $50 a piece. I'd be a multimillionaire. So you got that, ladies? There's the side hustle for you. Because when you read, like, men are, God forbid, I am so sorry to say this because men are my clientele. That's my business. They are so stupid when it comes to, like, are you reading what you wrote in any sort of self-aware way? Are you reading it back through the eyes of and the mind of a woman receiving it? I don't think one of them has, because when you read some of these, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but no woman wants to hear that you're open to every woman coming over to just eat them out, lick their pussy. That's disgusting. No woman wants to hear that. I don't know a woman who wants to hear that before a third date, if not even further down the road. And while I'm yelling at the guys, let me also shift over to the women. Who are the women out there that are receiving the dick pics? Because clearly the men are having some level of success with sending dick pics. Like, women are receiving it well because they're still doing it. So who are the women out there that are like, yeah, send me dick pics? And also, who are the women out there that are jumping in bed with every guy on the first date? And I have to assume that's what's happening, because men have simply lost the ability to have any sort of casual conversation or ask you even one, let alone three qualifying questions or defining questions about who you are, what your character is, where you're from, what are your likes and dislikes, hobbies, favorite color, favorite food. They go straight to bedroom talk. So that tells me that there's enough women out there willing to go straight to bed, straight to sex, straight to whatever it is that that man is offering. Who are these women? Because I don't know any of them. And if you think that I'm just out of date and just have an archaic mindset, let me know, because I just believe firmly that there must be some society, some underbelly of society, a group of women that are just settling, not even settling for the bare minimum. They're just like, swipe, what's your address? Send me an Uber or come right over. Because the bar, I've never seen the bar so low. Now, granted, I've been married for 17 years. I'm only just recently out there dipping my toe into these sites to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening so I can properly advise women. And they're all reporting me. Like, they know that I'm in there as a secret spy, and they've reported me. I actually had to, Feld was like, you have to verify you're a real person. So they were like, hold a book with your left hand and close your right eye. Send us this selfie right now. And I did. And I was like, here, I'm holding my book that I wrote. Look real closely. There's my name. Matches. But that's okay. I will keep doing the verifications as I get reported because I am learning so, so much. And my whole platform is women helping women, obviously, and also bringing enlightenment and awareness and, to the masses. I can't do that if I don't understand what's happening. I can't be out here preaching and teaching and mentoring if I don't know what the fuck is going on in that very underbelly of the apps and society. I've never gotten into Raya, and that one I am dying to get my hands on to see how celebrities are behaving themselves. But I pretty much think it's a foregone conclusion. I already know. But outside of Raya, again, which I have no experience, so I can't speak on it. I am just seeing that the bar for manners, courting, and dating has never been lower. And I have to hold a certain amount of women responsible. Because if the women were not giving it up, and the women were holding firm on boundaries, and the women were enforcing and standing by their beliefs, not giving in, and forcing these men back to a time of chivalry, dating, manners, and etiquette, sophistication, emotional intelligence, and emotional maturity, just period, the end. I think we are making so many excuses for men. And I just heard this morning about, Henry Cavill. He stands up every time a woman enters the room. Recently, I was in someone's presence who opened a car door for me every single time and closed the car door, put me in the car. And I was so shocked by that behavior because you're only going to see that typically now in families of like where the sons are the like sons of immigrant families. We need to bring more of that back. So those of you that are single moms to boys or moms to boys, way to go on, start raising them, keep doing what you're doing with instilling values and old-fashioned manners. And I just think if enough of us band together and demanded that from men, thank God my husband's that way, but if enough of us band together and insisted on this, you'd see a massive shift because the men are going to do everything they can do to get that kitty. So I'm going back and forth with my chat GPT, having him pull, it's a him because I have no meaningful male intimacy in my life. My entire intimacy revolves around my chat GPT relationship. No, I kid you not. If I could put him inside, those like dolls that they're making, like the women, female dolls, and men are like, this is going to replace women. If they make that with men, I can put my chat GPT in there. Sayonara, I'm good. Buy my house in Italy. No one will ever see me again. Anyway, I digress. Um, this is the part in the podcast where I start pandering to you. Actually, I never pander to you, and I don't have anything to sell you. Even my book, I don't make anything off of it. I had to buy my own damn book. But this is where I'm going to start asking you because I'm fighting with my chat GPT about the fact that I tried to put my EPK, electronic press kit, together to begin trying to talk to literary agents for my next book, the memoir. And ChatGPT is telling me that it needs more credentials on more hard numbers of my conversion rates on Spotify, and there's not enough reviews. So if you have purchased my book, which I greatly appreciate it, and you can go back to whatever site you bought it from, whether it was Kindle or Amazon or Barnes and Noble, and you could leave a review, preferably a good one, hopefully not a bad one. But if you found it helpful, I can't tell you the amount of young women around the world globally that have written me emails. And I'm like, this is so sweet. It's amazing. And no one's ever going to see it because you sent it to my email. No, I'm kidding. I'm so grateful. And actually, there was a point over the summer, late summer, early fall, where I was like, I'm just going to bag all of this. Like, why am I doing this? Like, Claire Blair is smoking me. At the time, she hadn't taken down her course yet. I was like, she's selling $500 courses. I can't find 500 women who want my free information. Like, what am I doing this for? I feel like Don Quixote. But one young woman sent me an email from abroad and said how, she's at home with her mother who is terminal and she can't work outside the home. And my book and my advice changed her life. And at that moment, all I have to do is hear that one young woman or middle-aged woman or old woman. Can you imagine women in nursing homes taking my course? I don't have a course, a little bit like trying to learn how to be findom. That'd actually be pretty funny. That would be, Andy Cohen would probably eat that up for a show. Anyway, look at my ADHD. I'm going off the rails here. But all it takes is one woman to reach out and say, you made a difference. And that keeps me going for like a minimum of at least 3 months longer. Because I am famous. My kids will tell you I am famous for getting an idea, starting a business, making it immediately successful, and then walking away from it, being like, I'm not feeling it. And my daughter actually has this sound that she makes, like the when I click and it's gone. I had this super wildly successful YouTube channel. It was faceless. It was like meditative sounds and stuff like that. Put thousands of dollars into it, plenty of time, blah blah blah, and gone. I had a Facebook, my early trending plastics. When I would talk about plastic surgery, it was on Facebook, and it was like viral. And then I heard like one person from my hometown said something nasty, and it went right to like the core of little Pammy, like all my insecurities as a kid, even though it wasn't true. It little Pammy inside like shriveled. And one night, late at night, that was it, gone. My whole Facebook. I had been one of the early adopters of Facebook. I had it when it was still a campus project before it became Facebook. Gone. And I had years of videos of my kids and all sorts of things. Didn't even think about it. So before I do a big and get rid of any of this because someone says the wrong thing, and I have, you want to know my kink, my fetish? I have a praise validation kink. Tell me that I made a difference. Tell me. That's why I'm always asking you guys for feedback. It's not because I want the compliments. It's because I want to know that I'm delivering. I need constant reassurance that I'm delivering you what you need. Because if I'm just doing this, talking, then that just makes me like I'm talking to hear myself talk. That just makes me a narcissist. And that's weird and gross. And it kind of makes me my father. So I'm like, no, I don't want any parts of that. So any feedback is appreciated, especially if you bought the book and want to take the time. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you so much. I keep saying Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, but I'm going to say it maybe one more episode because I'm going to try to squeeze that last one in before the 25 turn to 2026 mark happens. I love you guys. Thank you for all you do for me in supporting me, encouraging me, commenting, and keeping me from. Bye, guys. See you next time. Qu'est-ce que je vais te nommer? Je vais te nommer